Yeah, which also shows you how fake social media is too. Like just every media outlet. The person who preaches diversity, peace, love, unity might be the same person who's doing the opposite behind the scenes, right? Who's like hurting other people. So like you never know.
Welcome back to What He's Saying, the realest podcast in the world, the people's podcast, where listeners can not only learn and grow, but also feel heard and seen. I'm Osama. Mohammed is not here today, again, because man's busy. He's doing some other stuff for, in the background. So, guys, send him his love. Today we have a special guest, Basma. She's back again this time by herself because obviously we want to hear her unique voice, her unique perspective. She has so much to offer. Obviously, if you listen to the past episodes, that she was on with the woman, Islam, and marriage, and obviously the recent one that we did with Palestine. She killed it. She was one of the huge reasons as to why the episodes were a success. Besma, welcome.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction.
I try.
It's so nice to be back, honestly, and everything happens for a reason. You know what? Actually, I'm wearing a necklace that says Maktub.
Yeah,
Everything is
so
written.
true.
So everything that needs to happen will happen, including me meeting you, because me and Osama, we actually knew each other. Well, not
You
knew
love each other,
each other,
yeah.
knew other, yeah, from before. And then I actually know his sister pretty well, but I never knew Osama. And then, subhanAllah, life just goes in circles. And if you're meant to work with someone, then you're meant to work with someone. And
Exactly.
that's how.
And you have graced us
Mhm.
again the third time on our podcast, which is pretty lit because I know it's funny. Usually you ask someone to come on first by themselves, then you kind of like drag them in, but we kind of dragged you into like a whole which maybe was kind of better because it kind of like built it like, took away the awkwardness because like when there's a group session you force yourself to talk versus when it's one-on-one because I've had times in the beginning where people I would never know and in the first time if people go back to older episodes you can sense that there was no cameras. I wasn't looking at anybody's face. We were using audio app. So imagine talking to someone, you don't know their facial reactions. You can't gauge anything. At least with video you could tell if someone likes it or someone hates it.
That's honestly why I prefer video too, like, even for, like, and why I decided to start TikTok and not, like, podcasts. Because I'm also, like, a very expressive person when it comes to
Hmm.
my face, so I feel like, I don't know, sometimes my voice, maybe people just don't wanna listen,
Yeah.
but, like, with my face, I'm, like, very expressive, especially if I'm talking about something that I'm, like, passionate about.
So honestly, I think what's funny is like the pod original. Inshallah, like one day we do want to go on YouTube. Funny enough, we did start on YouTube, but that's a whole different story. But you did mention
Mhm.
TikTok. Obviously, you're a TikTok content creator, and obviously you do other stuff. But before we get indulged into your other projects that you obviously have worked on, why did you get into TikTok? And are you a social media person? I obviously know the answer. You told me yesterday, but for the people.
Yep, yeah. So the reason why I actually started TikTok, I never meant to be, which is so crazy because, it's funny because yesterday we were talking about like women being on social media,
Yeah.
and then when the video didn't work for the podcast, I was like, is this a sign from God that I need to stop
No, you got to
posting
keep
videos?
content creating.
No, but like, yeah, so initially I didn't want to be in the videos like at all. So what I wanted to do was like just put like Islamic text on videos, and
Hmm.
that's it. And that's how it started. And I used to get like 20 likes, 100 likes, and I was so happy with those like 100 likes. I was like, you know what? Like people are benefiting, and I felt so happy internally because I wanted people to benefit from Islamic content.
Hmm.
Like that was my goal. Then, it was during Arafah, so it was right before Eid. And you know how in Arafah, like the dua is mustajab
Yeah.
and everything like that. And I was just feeling like really emotional during that time because I just had a lot of duas that I wanted to get answered. So I was like, you know what? Why not make a video just sort of explaining what Arafah is and that I'm making dua and everything like that. Just sort of sharing my experience. And that video caught a lot more views, obviously, than my other videos. But what really attracted my attention to TikTok is like the number of people that were like, please make more videos. I'm losing hope in my dua. And I just felt like, wow, there's this need. Like people want someone to keep them motivated, to keep them continuing to make their dua. So it started off as like Islamic content. And then as I took
Hmm.
Islamic classes, I was like, you know what, let me share the knowledge that I learned. And then after that, it switched to like things that I learned from my marriage, like courses, like the premarital courses.
Hmm.
And it's just continued from there. And then now I just do videos about Palestine, of course, as the world is falling apart, unfortunately.
Yeah, but like to your point, obviously, like what's happening in Palestine, other parts of the world is obviously sad. But the unique part about social media, though, obviously some posts are getting demonetized. Like even me, my account isn't even as big. told you yesterday that I
Yeah.
can't use branded tools no more. I can't collab with anybody, which is stupid in my opinion and obviously ridiculous. But it just shows you how, because the truth is being set in stone by like certain creators, that they don't want the truth, so they'll demonetize you. And you'll see it, like for example, and I've tested it out multiple times. I can put out a stupid funny video and I'll legit get 300 views more. I'll put about
Mhm.
Palestine and it's like max I'll probably get it 100 max, and that's like on a good sign. But realistically, like I'm not passing more than 50 or 50 or 60 views. So it just shows you that obviously, you know, I know your content's not like more like focused on Palestine, but you are doing a great job in terms of obviously Islamically. Like you are like educating a lot of people, non-Muslims or like Muslims or not Arabs, because I think a lot of Arabs do know it's what's happening down the road if they're not Muslim, but also people who are not educated with the topic. I think you're doing a great job, which obviously kudos to you, because a lot of people, some Muslim content creators, just gonna say it out there, aren't doing that. It's like because they feel as if they start talking about Palestine, they're gonna start losing their followers or their, and again, to teach his own. I'm not
I
hating on no one, but it's from what I've seen.
Yeah.
That's what I've seen.
Yeah. You know why they don't?
Why?
It's the exact same reason that you said. Because for a lot of content creators, their bread and butter is literally their videos,
Mhm.
right? So this is why you'll know a lot of Muslim fashionistas or that make money online. They're the ones who haven't been as outspoken about Palestine, and the ones that have, I would say people should support them 10 times more, because those people are literally risking their account, to speak about Palestine. Like, ever since I started speaking about Palestine, my account both on TikTok and Instagram almost got suspended. We're warning. I've been on social media for 2 years, and I've never got these
Yeah.
types of warning. Like, I remember yesterday I was telling you, like, this person literally messaged me, and they were like an anonymous profile. They had like one follower.
Yeah,
They're like, they were like, they messaged me. They're like, this is crazy. Instagram is telling me my videos can't show to non-followers. I only have one follower. I was like, they're targeting everybody. They don't care if you have one follower, 10 followers. They're literally targeting everybody. So it's crazy.
yeah. It's just stupid. I've like, to your point. I know you said like you were never like, you've had social media for 2 years and you weren't used to it, because just because I've had the podcast and like I've had other posts banned for no reason. And I posted something recently on my story. I was trying to get this comedian on my podcast. So it's usually what I do is my process, and I'll share whatever the people who want to open a podcast. I'm going to share some knowledge. This is my process, and it
Hmm.
works. I go on their post, I comment, I'd love to have you on the podcast, and I'll message them, and I'm not gonna lie, I'll spam their posts. Like, and I'll go to the posts which have less comments, so they don't have to like go through, I guess, all the 50,000
That's
comments
smart.
or whatever. And then I'll comment, and then I'll message. There's an email. I'll message. And I'll say exactly what I did. Commented on a particular post, just one comment saying I want you on my podcast. Within 1 second, wallah, no joke, they took it down. I didn't have access to my account for 15 minutes,
Oh my
and then I had to
gosh.
like cancel. I had to get out I had to like exit the app and go back, and then I get a message saying you went against our policy guidelines, and I'm like, what? All I commented was, can I get you on the podcast? But I know it's because of the Palestinian stuff, because earlier in November they took down my account because they
Mm.
said I've been posting suspicious content, which makes no sense to me, because I only have 1,400 followers, or a little over 1,400 followers. And I'm like, bro, what would have happened if I had 50,000 or 60 or 100,000? That my account would have been gone immediately if at 1,000 followers. And obviously, I know, mashallah, you have way more. So it just shows you that it doesn't matter how many followers you have. If you're talking about Palestine, or like if you're not talking about a certain issue that you should be talking about, then obviously they're gonna come after you.
Yep. That's the thing. That's how it is. And honestly, that's why, like, initially I was considering social media to be like my source of income, but after the things with Palestine, I was like, I'm not going to feel like what I'm doing is genuine if I feel like I have to remain silent on an issue that I'm passionate about because I'm worried about being able to pay the bills the
I have a
next day.
question for you, because you just sparked a thought in my head. Now, we obviously mentioned
Mhm.
there's a lot of Muslim creators who are not talking about this issue, right? Some people can call them sellouts.
Mhm.
Some people, whatever the thing it might be. I'm not. I'm just like proving a point. Now they're probably the people, the viewers are probably liking their content just because I guess to them they're sticking true. Do you feel you're getting a lot of hate from both sides because you're no longer talking about what you used to talk about? You're only talking about Palestine. Do you feel like certain people are like, yo, stop talking about this?
You know what's interesting? I did notice that on TikTok, as soon as, so you know, on TikTok you can see the video where people drop off in the video,
Oh yeah, yeah.
right? I did notice that as soon as I mentioned the word Palestine, there is a huge drop off rate in the video. And I think this is where we sometimes have to hold ourselves accountable as people.
Hmm.
Like if we're saying these websites or social media channels are silencing us, well, ask yourself, when was the last time you saw a video about Palestine? You heard the word Palestine, you liked it, and you scrolled.
Yeah.
Because these social media algorithms, what they see is the watch rate,
Hmm.
how long the people watch the video for. So sometimes we need to hold ourselves accountable. So what I would say is, like,
Hmm.
people didn't vocalize that they're tired of me speaking about Palestine, but the algorithm clearly shows that people are tired about me speaking about Palestine. This is why even if you go on my TikTok right now, you'll see one video in the past 2 weeks that I made not about Palestine and made it about a story about me going to my grandma's, and it got almost now 1 million views. My other
That's crazy,
videos
mashallah.
on my TikTok, barely 10,000, because people are dropping off every time. I like, now people are tired, right? People like, so I think this is something, is like, people are not vocalizing because nobody's going to say stop talking about Palestine, but their actions unfortunately are showing that people are burning out. And this is why we should not be burning out, because every action that we do matters, right? Including how long we watch a video about
You wanna know
Palestine.
what's so crazy? And I like have a two. First, I want to say something before I guess I add on to your point. But there's one particular person who never knew I had a podcast, and in my head,
Hmm.
she's like, "What episode can I listen to?" This person's a female. I used to work alongside of her because I was replying to her story, something she said about like toxic man, toxic woman on social media, which obviously we'll get into, which we'll get into. So I said, "Hey, I'm like the episode I thought of was obviously the one that you came on with, like the woman Islam and marriage." And
Hmm.
I would say in the beginning it was like it took a little bit of time to like obviously gauge, because obviously at that point the one thing that people don't know is when you're in a conversation, it takes a long time for the conversation to obviously like build up. My opinion, I think it was like the best podcast we recorded in a while. My opinion. She was listening to it. She's like, "Yo, like, why are you guys all monotone?" I'm like, "Why are you?" And she's like, "You guys need to be more hyped, like those other podcasts, like that talk about this stuff." And remember, I'm like, you're listening. Like the podcasts you're listening to are scripted in a way for you to watch and to like get views, because there's no way. Like for example, like what our conversation right now, there's a million things in your head, but you could tell when these podcasts are scripted to get you views. And I said, I'm like, I'm not here to like talk about this dumb stuff about what you want to listen to. I'm like, if you want actual women who have, and I explained to them like who you guys were, and I'm like, you want actual advice, go listen to their podcast because they'll actually give you actual advice. And then she's like, "Oh, I'll
Hmm.
listen to it. It's like not my kind of thing." But it just shows you where people's priorities aren't obviously in place. And you were talking about how you're talking about yourself and people support and creators who are supporting Palestine, that those viewers or those followers should be supporting you guys. I really think they should be, because you're sacrificing your platform, which you worked so hard on, to, for example, talk about Sudan, talk about Congo, talk about Afghanistan, talk about Palestine, talk about whatever is happening in the world, because you know this is it. Stuff is gonna happen, but yet the creators who aren't talking about, in my opinion, I'm not hating on no one, I'm just saying you technically are a sellout because you're worried more about the dollar. If you're a Muslim, you know Allah's razak. He'll provide for you. He'll take care of you. So in my head, I just know I don't care how big my platform is. If someone ever asks me, "Do you like?" It's like something happened in Egypt, something happened in Lebanon. I'm gonna stand up for my people because I'm like, yes, I care about that subject, and we're gonna talk about it. Doesn't mean if it doesn't. I don't care what I lose. Which I guess I guess my next question for you would be the hate. So I guess whether it's about
Hmm.
what you're talking about, how do you feel the hate as a female content creator versus a male talking about anything?
Yeah, for sure. Like when I was talking about Islamic content, the hate was much greater like than it is now, for sure. Now I think like most of the hate is like Zionists, and most of them are like bots, anyways, because like like they have like 2 followers, no profile picture. Like it's just like, okay, I can't take you seriously, and most of the arguments don't even make sense in the first place. But a lot of the hate that I used to get was obviously when I spoke about Islamic content,
Mhm.
like hide yourself. Why are you showing your face? And I guess people have their reasons. Like some people, maybe they're saying it out of genuine concern. Like maybe some people, they believe niqab is fard, so they're trying to give a genuine, and I accept genuine feedback. Like for example, there was this girl recently. She's like, "Hey, your pants are a little bit tight in this video, sister. I love you, for the sake of Allah. Wear looser pants." I was like, you know what? that is actually such a genuine comment, and I could tell that she actually cares for me because
Mm-hmm.
in the akhirah she doesn't want me to be in that situation where I'm like, how come nobody, nobody gave me advice, right?
Yeah.
So that type of advice I'm okay with, but I think then eventually becomes hate. And sometimes people make videos. It's crazy because like sometimes people who say women shouldn't be online are the ones taking your video and posting it even more. So it's like that's a little bit of hypocrisy because if you believe women should not be online, why would you take a woman's video, put hate text on it, reshare it, it goes against their own advice, which to me shows that it's not genuine. So for sure I would say yes. And some people, I think some men, I wouldn't say all men for sure, or not even the majority, just some men, the vocal ones, a lot of the vocal ones, they sometimes don't like when women give advice or like when women say something like the questions to ask before marriage videos. There were like, especially on Instagram for some reason, like there was a lot of guys in the comments like, this is feminism, you shouldn't be asking for deal breakers. And I think a part of it is because like they don't want women to have a choice, right? They want women to just accept him the way he is, not be able to figure out if something doesn't work for her. So to me, like I feel like when I get that type of hate, I realize that okay, alhamdulillah, I'm making a positive difference because there is a woman out there who will figure out what she
Mm-hmm.
wants and through these questions, and she'll find the right man for her because there's a lot of great men, and she will be able to find a good man for her. And I think that's the most rewarding thing of social media is like when somebody comes to you and they say, I found the best spouse. Like I had this girl. She came up to me, and she was like, it's because of your questions to ask before marriage that I found the most amazing guy, and I was able to figure out that he's amazing because of these questions. They figured out that they were aligned on the same page. Alhamdulillah, they've been married for a while now.
That's good,
So,
mashallah.
yeah. So to me, it's like the hate. I think sometimes only shows you the impact that you're making,
Yeah.
and I types of people that are triggered just drives me even more because I know that there's someone else who's benefiting that's triggering this person.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I have seen from like the content creators like who are female who we've had on the podcast, and I've like yourself
Mhm.
included. You guys do get way more hate than I like, even like the average men creator does, 100%.
Yeah.
Because I've seen or
Mhm.
like people have told me, like I even remember Selwa made or Susu, people who don't know her, like her first name, but Susu on TikTok, she made a video like last year
Mhm.
about like how Christmas is like for Muslims, obviously it's haram and whatever, and it's like we're not allowed to
Yep.
celebrate it. The amount of people that gave her hate, like even Muslims themselves, like, hey, what are you doing? And versus if I guarantee if a guy did that video, the response would not, because she got a lot of threats, and I guarantee, and I don't know why, like in my opinion, when a girl does a video, there's always a threat. Like they're always trying to threatening a girl. I don't know why threats get involved. I'm like, dude, you're making yourself look like an idiot. Like if you're married, I
Mhm.
don't know how you're married, honestly. I'm not sure why your wife wants you at this point, but
Unfortunately, a lot of um, wives do enable their husbands, and I'm gonna come out and say it.
hmm
Like recently, actually, nobody knows the story. I haven't made it public, and I don't plan to make it public. But it's just to show you sometimes how married women can enable their husband to abuse other women on social
yeah,
media and other things like that. So there was this content creator. He actually has a lot of followers. Mashallah, he does a lot of great work. I'm not going to take that away from him. Um, but recently, he was causing some division in the ummah. So I put a comment in his comment section. I said, I don't really think you should be creating this division because I think it's spreading a lot of misinformation. And this thing had nothing to do with me. To me, I don't like when people backtalk other people or
hmm
create division with them. To me, I really dislike that. He took it to my DMs. He started, threatening me. He started blackmailing me. He started saying things like, "Don't push me to the limit, or you won't be happy with what you'll see." Like it was a lot of, to me, like border like abuse. Like why would you talk to someone in that manner, right? Especially if you're an Islamic person or you claim to be, you look righteous. And his wife next time she goes in the comments, his comments, and she's like instigating in my response, right? So this to me is like when you say all these men who are bullying women online or whatever, sometimes unfortunately their wives do instigate it.
Hmm.
And I think that to me, like, I encourage every single person who is like this woman that I'm talking about, really reflect upon what you're doing, because it, like, maybe sometimes they're trying to deflect their husband's behavior from them, and to me, I really empathize with that, and I feel sorry for that. Just, I don't think it's smart to turn that man's abusive behavior towards other women. You know what I mean? Or enable it or allow it. And this is something that I've sometimes found in our community, unfortunately. But that's sometimes what the wives are doing, is instigating. That's what I found, unfortunately.
But it's also sad because I think I've always said this, like a man is not you don't measure a man by by the amount of money he has. You measure a man by his integrity. And I think a lot
Mhm.
of these guys who are living who are saying all this kind of stuff, your integrity is low because you can have a lot of money still be rude. You can have no money still be respectful. And my thing is like there's obviously stories I know where a lot of these guys have threatened girls or like blackmailed them or they disrespected them. Like in my head, I'm like, whatever the situation is, and if a girl's enabling that behavior, you have to obviously question yourself because if he's doing that to other women, what makes you think he won't do it to you one day if the situation is obviously wrong?
Well, sometimes they do. That's the thing, right? Like sometimes they do that to them.
Yeah.
And but the woman enables it to other women because she thinks it's deflecting it from herself,
Hmm.
which to me is so heartbreaking and so sad. But like that's the thing. I feel like regardless if you're a man or a woman, if you see something wrong, you should stand up against it, right? Like that's my
Yeah, I agree.
perspective. Like it's not even like, even if it's a family member, like, and this, even like this topic could even be related to racism. Why is racism so prevalent in our community? Because family members aren't standing up for racism within the home, right? Like if someone makes a subtle comment about a black person or a daisy person, nobody says anything about it. Why? Because we've enabled this culture of just nodding, saying yes, right? But
Hmm.
sometimes, especially if it goes against Islam, if you're threatening a person, if you're being racist, we need to learn to go against what's wrong and say, hey, respectfully, I don't think what you said is right.
But you know the thing is, a lot
That's
of
what's
people care more about this is how you know someone generally does not have any character. Like for example, there's times in the past where I've seen whether it's girls or guys, like for people that I know who are something, and I'm really good with my with my intuitions. Like I can sense when someone's off, and I'll ask once, and obviously sometimes the person might say, "Okay, I'm good," but that still gives me a sign like you're not good. So like I'm not gonna ask again because respectfully you told me like you're okay, and that's also a subliminal way. But it just shows that a lot of people when they enable these bad behaviors, it's also not even bad parenting. It's just you. Like if you're 18, 20, or like you're 25 years old, you're just a piece of crap at this point. To go out of your way to make
Mhm.
someone's life worse, especially on social media. Like think about it, right? Obviously, we're around the same age. Like we're in our 20s. Think about it to yourself and for everyone listening. If you're in your 20s, 30s, whatever you are, 40s, go back to when you were younger. Bullying only existed face to face. Now, if I don't see you face to face, I'm gonna go on social media and threaten you. You're this, you're that, because you're trying to promote this positive content. But what people don't know is when you go on social media, okay, I can still read this, I can still respond to you. But also these smart content creators, like, why am I gonna get indulged, put my family at risk or put myself at risk? And I don't need, I'm not gonna allow anybody else to live rent free in my head. And to those women who are in those relationships with their men or vice versa, men with their women, I would suggest this. Like, I'm not gonna say leave your partner, but I am gonna say like you need to stop that now because what goes around does come around. And I do say, and by the way, to people, like my thing is, there's a lot of content. Like I don't really watch a lot of Muslim content creators. If you're on our podcast, I watch you. I f with you, support you, number one supporter. However, if I do not like someone, I really do not have the time to think of a comment to hate on you. I don't have the time to do it. Like imagine thinking about for 30 minutes, this comment's gonna get 1,000 likes, or this comment's gonna get this comment's gonna get that. You just make yourself look like an idiot.
takes it takes much more energy to be hateful than
It
to
genuinely does.
even give genuine advice. Honestly, even taking genuine advice, going in that person's like DMs, being kind, it takes less energy than to think of something hateful, in my opinion.
Agreed. But also, like, see from a man's perspective, I under see, like, actually, no, I don't understand.
Actually,
Sorry?
I do wanna tap into the man's
Yeah, what's up?
perspective, so please keep talking because this was something that I know me and you also said about social media, so go
No, I
ahead.
was just gonna say, like, for me as a man, I do want like, for me as a man, I do understand that I don't get as much hate, and maybe it's because a lot of these guys, if you know me personally, I have a loud mouth. I'm not afraid to respond. Like, my mouth is there's, like, a verse in Arabic, like, not a verse in Arabic, it's like a saying in Arabic, it's like, "This guy does not shut up," and that's pretty much me. If you get me going, it's خلاص, I'm gonna continue. But all jokes aside, I think it's, for me, really important that I've been taught to respect women, whether you like them or you don't. And if you have a problem with them, and again, I'm someone who's always got taught, I never start with anybody unless they start with me. So if you start with me,
Mhm,
you're now giving me the opportunity to start with you. But I would never, like, even for example, there's obviously, you may know, you might get certain bad vibes from certain people. I still, in that example, will still give you the benefit of the doubt, regardless of how I feel about you. But I don't agree to go on
mhm.
social media and to abuse, to harass, to assault Muslim woman or any kind of woman, act in that matter, who's trying to, like, better her life, because it's generally unfair unless she has, like, unless you have a personal beef. If you have proof that this person did something to you, I still think there's a way of, like, expressing how you feel, but to send threats, to belittle them, you just make yourself look like an idiot, because any guy can agree,
Mhm.
and I know Mo, if he was here, he would agree with me. I personally had a huge ego in high school, and I really did not care what I said to anybody, and I'll be the first one person to say it. But I just genuinely think that the way you say something to a girl versus the way something you say to a guy is two different things. Like, for example,
Fact.
it's not what you
I
say
was
to a girl;
just
it's
about
how you say it. Like, for example, like, if your girl says to you,
yep.
if your girl says, "Do I look nice?" If even if you think it doesn't look nice, if you say you look ugly, you're gonna get like you're gonna get killed.
Don't say that. Don't whatever you do, you could say anything, but do not say that. No, I was about to say exactly like men. Honestly, there might be a man who's listening to this who's married, and he's like, I don't understand her. I don't. That's okay. Men and women were created different for a reason.
Hmm.
Like eventually, you guys are both can understand each other, right? And like, I'll give you an example. There was a time on TikTok where I did like cover my face, right?
Hmm.
And it's because you know, well, I'm not going to say their name, but they're a couple on TikTok, and her husband, mashallah, he's such a great person, yani, and she's a great person too. But he knows how to talk to people. He genuinely during that period of time
Hmm.
convinced me, like, hey, Besma, I think covering your face is a good decision. And he like sat with me, he convinced me, and wallahi, when I did it, I was so happy doing it. Like
Yeah.
he did it in such a way that was so convincing that made me so happy to do it. So when you do talk to a woman, it's so important how you say things because what like if you say it the wrong way, it can deter her from something like forever.
But
That's just how it
but
works.
you know, the thing, the easy thing for a guy is to hate on a girl when he doesn't get his way, or when he feels he's jealous. And I can also go to other male like content creators as well, but specifically women, because I realized, for example, the hate that I get could be coming from guys, but we never really had a girl hate on her. Not that I know of, at least. But then again, there's the
Yeah, it's probably in the group chats. No, I'm
sorry.
just kidding.
What'd you say?
I said it's probably in the group
Oh, probably
chats.
it is in the group chats, bro. If I broke a girl's heart, I'm sorry. My face is probably placid as a profile picture. I'm just joking. But all jokes aside, I just do think that guys sometimes are jealous. For example, like, a guy could ask a girl out, girl says no, he goes
Mhm.
haywire. Or, for example, a girl's doing, the biggest example is like a girl doing something for herself, and the guy starts bringing up her past. Well, like, why?
Mm.
Or because your boy dated her, and she, whatever happened between them, that's whatever between them. So why do you have to get involved and, like, go crap on her? Because what people don't understand is, like, this. I have my favorite quote: "Your net worth is your network is your net worth. It's not what you know, it's who you know." Because there's a lot of people who graduate university, correct? Not everybody has jobs.
Yep.
A lot of people graduate college,
Mhm.
PhDs, masters. They're still jobless, working at a part-time job, inshallah, and, like, trying to find, like, their next career point. It's who you know is what's gonna help you. For example, like, you might say, "Hey, Osama, like, I know you have this guest. Do you mind me connecting with them?" Boom, or her. Got you. "Hey, what's up, man? I know I haven't spoken in a long time. Just want to let you know there's this person who would love to work with you. I'd love for you to speak with them. If you're interested, no pressure. Just, like, they want to speak with you and, like, have a good relationship with you, or vice versa. I come to you." people also feel like as I think a lot of guys feels emasculating to ask a girl a question or like if they're better than them. Dude, if they're better than you, they put in the work. Praise them.
Mhm.
It does not make you less of a man if a girl helps you out or guys is like, hey, I think you should do this. It doesn't naturally. It just doesn't. It should make you better. By the way, if people want to, we want to talk about Islam. Khadija radiallahu anha was richer than the Prophet peace be upon him. So I don't know where people get these facts from. And when it comes to social media, as a guy, obviously with social media, you're not going to get all like flowers and blossoms. There's a lot of rain, snow, disgusting weather that comes with it. And unfortunately, like I can't speak for all guys. I can speak for myself. If guys are going out there and like hating on girls and whatever, like if like me, our podcast has more female guests than we do male guests. It just shows you that the respect that we have for these like these girls who come on our podcast, and like we're trying to also help them, speak their voice and speak their truth. But to those guys who are, and maybe you see it yourself, to those guys who are hating on a girl or like threatening her, they have no life. And one day, if they have a daughter and they still have that same mindset, and I mean this genuinely, it's gonna happen to her because her dad was a piece of crap to these girls at one point. And he still is.
Yeah, it's the whole concept of like women being better. Like I actually wanted to ask you about that. Like what makes men feel inferior when women are more successful in an aspect? Because
Yeah.
I'll give you like an example from myself, and I know we talked about this like yesterday too, but sometimes I do feel like when men see my social
Uh-huh.
media, they feel threatened, right? They feel like, oh my gosh, like she has all these followers, like she's making these videos, she's speaking about all these topics that are important, especially if they see that I'm talking about like Palestine or something. Like, I feel like they get very, like, I don't know, just like, oh my gosh, she has this
Yeah,
voice.
yeah.
But what is it that like makes, I guess, I don't want to say all men, but some men just not like women having an opinion, or not even an opinion, just being informed on a fact and presenting it to a group of
Nope.
people. And it might be that people don't
Yeah.
like their woman to be on social media. Like I respect that, I understand that, but I don't really feel like a lot of people are like that though. I
Yeah.
think a lot of men, if a girl goes up and she shows her skirt, she shows her nails, she shows how she does her hijab, they're okay with that. But they're not okay with women having a voice and actually saying what she wants to
You
say.
know what's so interesting that you asked that question? Because I remember having this conversation like when I was like 18, like 10 years ago, with my friends. The
Mhm.
question the question always was, would you allow your wife to make more than you? Right? From a lack of deen perspective, you're gonna say no because you think as it's emasculating, but reality, it doesn't matter how much money she makes, your money's still her money. She can still make more than your money. You can make 10 times more than her and she can make as much as you. Your money's still her money. The thing is, a lot of these guys are insecure. And you could tell, for example, girls always say they
Yeah.
want confident. They don't want cocky. When girls say they want confident, it's just like someone who's not. For example, if you're talking to like, for example, like, just normally talking to four guys, for example, and you know this one, and this one guy has a thing for you, you can, as a woman, you'll sense who's being fake, who's being this, who's being themselves, because you know people, like you could tell when someone's not being themselves, especially when you obviously know them. I think it's attractive when a guy, or like attractive when any person actually, that is when they're themselves. You don't have to like pretend to be or not or someone else, because a lot of these guys, when they see girls doing content or being successful, for them it's like, oh, how did she get this opportunity? Well, have you ever asked yourself, are you doing the work yourself? Because a lot of the times when a
Mm.
guy thinks to themselves, in my opinion at least, why is the girl doing better than me? Well, maybe you are not putting in work, or maybe the thing you're supposed to do you haven't worked on. So it's like the easy thing is to hate for a guy. Like for me, honestly, genuinely speaking, I know we spoke about it on the phone yesterday or 2 days ago. Even if I want to be completely rich, like I'm not gonna say I love money, but I do want to be like financially stable and satisfied to the point where like if my wife or my kids needed something, I got it. But even if my wife had her own content and she's already been making a million or 2 million a year, that's mashallah. I'm happy for you. And even if I'm making half a million or 600,000 a year, but I'm doing what I love, the money doesn't equate how successful you are. The thing that people have to understand, success does not equal money. Here's what success actually is for me: is if I go from 18 years old to 28, am I happy with how I turned out in 10 years? It's either a yes or a no. But to say because your girl or your wife or your fiance or whatever makes more money than you, that doesn't equate more success. She loves doing what she does, and because of her hard work, she earned obviously a salary. But if you love being an accountant, you're liking making $60,000, and your wife is okay with you making 60, though she makes more than you. I don't really see an issue. But the thing is, I think a lot of
Mhm.
men look at money as this foundation, as I have to make more than you, so I can be the. And wallahi, some ambo said this to me. He asked me one time, he's like, "Would you allow your wife to make more than, or would you allow your wife to make more than your work?" I'm like, "Ambo, as long as I'm like doing what I love, and I don't really care if she's working or not." He's like, "Ah." Then he's like, "She's gonna be wearing the pants in the family." I'm like, "Brother," I'm like, "I'm pretty sure all women wear the pants in the family. So I don't know what I'm not sure where your relationship is."
You know what's funny? Literally saw this video the other day. You know that news reporter where she was like, "You probably never spoke to a woman before." She was telling that guy. Did you see that
Is that an old
video?
video?
No, so this guy, he like represents like Palestine. He was on he was presented on a UK news
Hmm.
channel, and the lady was like trying to defend Israel so hard. So when the guy was saying something that she didn't like,
Hmm.
she was like, she was like, "You're just not used to letting women speak. This is why you're not able to like present your
Yeah.
argument." But obviously, just she was trying to like cut him off. But in response, a lot of Arab women were like, "Have you seen Arab women in the home? Like they wear like exactly what you said. Like they're so like vocal about what they want. Like
100%.
there's this whole like Arab women don't say anything. They're just locked up all day. That doesn't work for like a lot of um Arab women. But what I did want to say, because you did mention the point of women making more than men, I do think, in my opinion, I do think that the provider mentality, which a lot of women, for example, seek, is not about like how much a guy makes,
No, it's
right?
not.
Because I've seen like, yeah, I've seen men who make so much money, but they still expect a woman to pay 50-50. Or I've seen a man who like makes barely minimum wage. Yeah, he's not gonna buy you Chanel and a car and whatever, but he's still gonna be that type of person where if you guys do go out like once a week or something, he's not gonna want you to pay for the
Yeah.
date, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
when you guys are alone. So like to be a provider mentality, to have that successful mentality, it's not always to be a millionaire or to make more than your wife. Like it's just about trying to be ambitious and exactly what you said, to work hard for what you want and to yeah, to just be a main
I
provider.
want to share a story with you quickly. I remember one time I was at with, I think we were at some Arab restaurant. This is probably now 4 years ago, it's like 2020. And I remember it was like me and my friends sitting down at this restaurant, and I remember we're talking about Mahid. We're talking about how obviously in Islam it's like the woman, the man's money is the woman's money, and her money is her money. Correct? I remember one of
Hmm.
my friend was like, "Yeah, it's a culture thing." And at that point, one of our friends had just gotten engaged, and I'm like, "Thank God he was there," because as I was speaking, they're like, "Nah, nah." Like they call me Kusa, but they were like, "Nah, Kusa, bro, you're lying. That's cap. That's an old man thing." I'm like, "No, it's not. This is like an Islamic thing." And he's
Hmm.
like, then my friend was like, "Nah, bro, he's right. He's like, Islamically, your money is her money, and Mahid is her Islamic right to have." And I'm
Hmm.
like, whether it's $20, $5, obviously it's or 1,000, whatever the amount is, obviously relative to how much the guy makes, but well, not really relative, but I think it should be relative, but her choice. He's like, nah, bro, I don't think this should happen. But it just shows you, if you're not really connected with your deen, if you're not really connected with, if you're not really content, money is not an indicator. When I saw that, he's like, nah, bro, it should be 50-50. I'm like, honestly, dude, since I was, I don't know, I've always wanted to be the provider. I don't care if me and my wife were both millionaires. I'm gonna spend as much money on you, and that's it. That's your money. One day, if you want to go on a trip, my money. Your money is for yourself, and that's it. My money is for you and the kids. But a lot of guys is when you just focus on money. This is why, for example, I always say money doesn't buy happiness. Because if you look at celebrities, for example, which we'll obviously maybe touch on in a bit, to go back full circle with our conversation about social media. But when you look at money, yes, one of the biggest divorce rates happen due to financial, but it's also because a lot of these people spend their
Hmm.
money on reckless things. But Islam has the answers. It's like it tells you
Yeah.
how to utilize your money and how to spend it or whatever. But when you're always spending it on vacation or on unnecessary stuff and not your family first, and of course you're gonna have financial problems. But also that it just shows you, like for example, it's nice. For example, inshallah, may Allah make you as successful as possible. But even if you were a millionaire, right? It's still nice for if your husband even were to make 100 or 200,000 for him to buy you a gift. Though you could probably afford more than him, the fact that he thought of you Oh shoot. Wow, so kind of you. Yes, gifts are nice from
Yeah,
both parties.
and she's gonna and the woman, trust me when I tell you, when a guy makes a woman feel special, she herself is gonna be like, "Babe, like, I wanna pitch in as much as possible." Like, she's gonna she from herself, like, if inshallah, if she's a lot of times, like, if she like, well, I don't want to say if she cares because everybody has their own way of doing it, but just like based on what I've seen even around me, right? Even examples like my mom doesn't work, right? But if my because she loves my dad, if my dad needs something, like we if she has to sell an asset back home, she'll do it, right? Or like I've seen it so many in women who like love their
Yeah.
spouses, or because he cares for her, she'll do things for him out of love for him.
But
So
I
that's
don't know.
how
For
it
me, I've always been taught since I was young. And I remember when I was 21 years old, I just graduated like school, and I remember
Mhm.
I was working. I didn't get. I had a job lined up for my field, but they hired someone internally. So subhanallah, I worked 3 jobs. I remember I worked a warehouse job at Winners from 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. and from 2 to 10 I would work at. I was a Beats by Dr. Dre trainer still. I was still a Beats by Dr. Dre trainer, and then on the weekends I had a different Saturday Sunday I had a different job. So I remember in my head I'm like, yo, I don't care if I'm married and I'm working a full time job and I don't know Uber or whatever it is, just to make sure my wife never ever. This is my point. People always want to look at social media women and be like, ah, I want that lifestyle. But what they don't understand, that lifestyle is bought for from these other companies to make them live it. It's not true. It's not valid. You as a man, I don't care if you have to work 12 hours a day because a woman is still working at home. Like I see these TikTok, I call them TikTok chicks because they say some ridiculous things. They'll be like, I would never clean the house. I'm like, bro, my mom has said something to me since I was young. She's like, if you help your wife clean, but you don't clean in this house, she's like, I'm not your mother. So every like time she's like, go clean the washroom or go do vacuum. And in my head, I'm like, okay, so now if I ever have to live by myself, I know how to clean the house. It's not only on my wife, but it just shows you people want to live this social media lifestyle. Like, look, you see these really like relationship people on social media. A lot of it, it's all fake. Because what you see on social, like for example, what you're doing is you're advocating about certain legitimate topics, which a lot of people are scared to talk about, knowing that they could lose their platform. Yet every single day, you're probably saying, "This could be the day I lose my platform." Other people are pre I don't know organizing their videos to make it look like we're having fun, we're loving each other, but in reality they could hate each other. And there's a lot of been reports even past. I'm not sure if you know the Ace family. They were like big on YouTube at one point.
Yes, yeah.
They yeah, there were reports at one point they were living separately and they weren't even like happy together. It just shows you that don't
Wow.
believe what you see on social media. And just because someone seems happy in a photo does not mean they're actually happy in reality. That's why I feel like as a content creator, as a man, be good and be grateful if you have a woman who loves you and cares for you, and obviously vice versa, because what you see on social media can legitimately be detrimental to you.
100%. 100%. The social media world is like is not is not real. Like it's like partially real, but it's not the full story.
Those yachts are fake. You know what's funny is like people will always be like, ah, I want to be on that yacht. And in my head, I'm like, buddy, you know for a fact that if you don't have a certain amount of followers or a certain amount of connections, you are not going to go there because they're paying you to post a picture and doing certain stuff around like obviously alcohol or gambling, whatever it might be. So you can have access to that thing. Bro, these guys to own a yacht is expensive. First of all, it's ridiculous. These guys are definitely like stealing or like they're doing some next things to get the opportunity. But to all the men out there who are hating on
Yeah.
women, go respect yourselves. Go do yourselves a favor. Even if you're Muslim or not Muslim, go legit respect yourselves.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate because like, I'm gonna get a lot of DMs saying, "Yo, bro, you're just saying that because a girl's on the podcast."
You're you're like you're enabling girls to but I mean, look, it's just everybody, let's all respect each other, men, women, like just I don't know. I don't feel like
S-
it's that
Speaking
hard
of,
to be honest.
but here, let me ask you a question. Speaking about respect,
Mhm.
don't you find that certain
Mhm.
celebrities, TikTok celebrities, whatever it might be, or even like celebrities get more respect than your own friendships or own people? Like, think about it. Celebrities will get worshipped. Like, here's the best example. Not sure if you listen to Drake, but Drake is obviously one of the biggest artists. And recently, a couple months back, he after he dropped his last album that he just dropped, he said he's gonna be taking some time off of music. Immediately,
Okay.
everyone was like, "Yo," like, and obviously I listened to him, but in my head, I'm like, at that point, wow, everyone was fixated as to why he was taking time off. But when it comes to their friends or when it comes to their, I don't know, political issues, silence. Just shows you where people's priorities are. Celebrities mean more to them than the world.
But you know what they do say? They do say sometimes it's best that you don't meet your idols. And I think, you know, the Epstein list, for example, I know we were talking about it the other day. Like seriously, it's all those celebrities that or like people that were just preaching about peace and love and unity and it was not the Donald Trumps of the world
No.
that were on that list. Yeah, which also shows you how fake social media is too. Like just every media outlet. The person who preaches diversity, peace, love, unity might be the same person who's doing the opposite behind the scenes, right? Who's
Yeah.
like hurting other people.
Well,
So like you never know.
well, it just shows you too. Again, like the thing is, you know what it is.
Mhm.
Whether you show your personal, from what I from my point of view, whether you show your personal life or whatever it is on social media, those viewers now think because you have a following that they're a part of your life. So they think that you owe them a favor because they're following you. But you can easily
Mhm.
unfollow one. But in this, make sure you guys follow Basma because she's amazing. Amazing content. Make sure you follow her. Get her to that million, inshallah. And but my point is this: is like these celebrities when they're filming a movie or when they're filming a TikTok or doing whatever it is, podcast, whatever it might be. It's in that moment that they're getting asked a question or they're filming a movie that you see of them, but you don't know who they are. They're still obviously human beings. As you said, this whole Jeffrey Epstein list is like crazy because you're starting to hear rumors about celebrities being part of this list, and you're like, bro, I used to like watch you as a kid, or I used to listen to you as a kid. How is it? Excuse me. How is it that now I can't see you the same way? Like even like with Will Smith, like last year slapping Chris Rock, the comedian. Then obviously reports came out that him and his wife, like him and his, I guess, ex-wife now, weren't even like Jada weren't even like living together. They're like living separately. It just shows you like a different light. And as you said, sometimes you don't want to meet your heroes, people you like looked up to, or maybe like, I don't know, at one point as a kid even idolized. Wow, I want to be like him. Because one thing about me, and I know Mo, if you're listening, you'd agree with this. Me and Mo actually want to be really, really, really famous when we were kids. But when we got older and we had the pleasure to interview people, who mashallah are way bigger than us in stature, but it sometimes as a podcast host or even maybe yourself when you're like doing videos or you've met certain people, you can stare in someone's eyes and be like, you're not right. You've seen some stuff, you've done some stuff, you're like you're no longer there. Like I've interviewed a lot of people where I'm like, alhamdulillah, where I'm not as your, like, obviously with success comes fame, but like I would never want the Drake fame. I would never want Tory Lanez or Weekend or any other celebrity fame because you lose your privacy. You can't go to the mall no more. Like a
Mhm.
simple thing of going to the mall or going to the grocery store, you can't do it. And this Jeffrey Epstein list has proven to me that these celebrities are disgusting. Whether you went to that island, did nothing, but you were there, you're disgusting.
Yep. Don't glamorize what's online. Just stick to sunnatillahi wa rasuluh. This is what I say.
That's so true.
Our only role model is Prophet Muhammad. That's it. Because everybody else is gonna disappoint you. I'm just being honest.
But yeah, but that's the thing. Like I told you, like who I interviewed, uh, and
Yes.
I'm like, it was the biggest because
Don't
no, I'm
say
not, I'm not, I'm not,
or
I'm
you
not,
don't say or you will get sued.
I'm not gonna say because, but that individual, I remember when we were interviewing them, it was just like the biggest letdown because obviously you used to listen to them, watch them, and then obviously you don't get that same person. But that's the thing too, is like you don't realize that certain people have done whether it's mistakes or whatever it is. But then when you see them in person, that's why I think the one thing I always say to myself: if I'm ever famous, big one day, I will never let down people who listen to me. Like, I'll always be nice to you, and I think it goes both ways. I think it's wrong for anybody to ever be disrespectful to anybody just because you're going through something. Like me, you will never know if I'm going through something because I'm always smiling, always here to make you laugh. Like there's times in the past couple of months where I'm just like not feeling it, but I'll still dap man's up, like, yo, what's good, bro? What are you saying? If a girl asks me a question, hey, how are you? Make them laugh, make everybody laugh, and kind of head my way. You'll never know. And these celebrities now are now seen in a different light just because of this whole Jeffrey Epstein. And now it's like you're watching a movie and you're like, there's a foreshadowing effect. It's like, who's gonna be next on that list? And one day we're gonna
Mhm.
realize if Drake is on that list, I'll be sad, but I might have to stop. I might have to stop listening to him if he's on that list.
It's crazy.
It is crazy, but honestly, let me ask you a question. Are there? I guess my last question about this whole Jeffrey Epstein thing. Are you going to be surprised if there's certain celebrities you used to listen to or watch that end up being on that list that you in your mind you wouldn't think of them doing this kind of act?
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised just for one reason. Like, just because, like, ever since I started doing TikTok videos, I was able to meet, like, a lot of people, whether it's people that know that I've met people or I've met people behind the scenes. And not everyone is as they seem. So, and this is why, like, for me, I always tell myself, I'm just gonna be my real self, even if I make mistakes on camera. I don't, I don't care. Like, you can even find some of my mistakes out there, right? Things that I've said, things that I've joked about. Like, to me, I would rather be genuine than be someone who's like so PR put
Mm-hmm.
together, doesn't make mistakes on camera, says everything right that everyone wants to hear. Because I think the people that we should really be afraid from are the people who look perfect. Because there's no such thing as perfection. We all make mistakes, right? So the people that look perfect, sometimes they're just very good
At
at
hiding.
putting that out. Yeah. Because somebody, like everybody, I'm telling you right now, everybody sins. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even said that. Everybody makes mistakes, right? Doesn't mean that we should go and publicize our sins. But I'm just like, it's the people that are always put together and perfect. And this is why I just don't see anybody as my role model anymore, ever since I started doing TikTok. Because I just realized there's no such thing as perfection. There's no such thing as someone who just seems so perfect that I'm looking up to them in every aspect, in every way. It's just not possible.
One that says that they're perfect, just know that they're lying. If someone has to tell you, like for example, well, I'm the greatest of all time, or I'm perfect, or I'm this, or I'm that, just because here's the thing about perfection, or about greatness, or whatever it might be. If someone is not saying it about you, then you aren't that. If you have to go say it about yourself, then you are not that. Like for example, when someone is speaking about you,
If they no wait, I'm gonna just say something. If they're saying it about you, then most likely they're a narcissist and run the other way. They're what's the word called? They're love bombing you. So just be cautious. If
that's very
someone's
true.
telling you you're perfect, they're love
That's
bombing
very
you.
true. It's like I want to see if I can get some money out of this guy. I'm like, bro, I'm not gonna give you no
Yeah.
money.
Or whatever.
I'm just the
Whatever it is,
cheapest
money,
guy. I'm
other
not the
things.
cheapest guy. To all the women out there, I'm not cheap. I'm just cheap towards myself.
You heard him, ladies. He's not
I'm
cheap.
just cheap towards myself because I don't like spending my own money. But on you, to my wife, all my money's yours.
Future wife, if you're listening
Yeah, and if you better be,
to this
you
right
better be
now.
listening. But
Yeah. Biggest
we spoke
supporter.
about a lot, guys. You guys have. This is, in my opinion, better than the second time was better than the first time.
Alhamdulillah. That's what I'm saying. Everything, wallahi, everything happens for a reason. So alhamdulillah.
Guys, before we end it off, I want all of you to pause at 53 minutes and 20 seconds and go follow Besma immediately on Instagram and
Thank you.
TikTok. Where else can they follow you?
Oh, so my at is Basma is Salam. And guys, don't forget to also follow Ways Podcast on
Come on.
TikTok, Instagram, Apple Spot,
Apple,
Apple.
Spotify, iHeartRadio,
Yeah, there you have it.
Amazon, all the platforms which are smaller. But yeah, guys, inshallah, we'll be back next week, inshallah. That's the goal. Hopefully, Mo will be here. If he's not, we'll see you next week. Peace. You guys thought we were done? I don't think so. We still gotta wrap it up. Please follow me at Kusa300. Follow my co-host Muhammad at Muhammad.global. Make sure to follow our page at Instagram. Also, make sure to subscribe to all our platforms. We drop every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Thank you. We'll see you next week.